There is a need for me to have revision. A pleasant day to everyone, especially to our flexible learning tutor, Dr. Elizabeth Taa. I am Din-Gacs from Group 2. The changing education parameters. Din-Gacs Central School participated in limited face-to-face classes a few months before the school year ended. I was assigned as the safety protocol chairman of the school. Since I am currently the school DRRM coordinator, I prepared documents needed to obtain a safety seal from the LGU and another folder of documents for a safety seal again from the division office. Fortunately, all the teachers worked together for the implementation of limited face-to-face. Stakeholders were actively engaging on the plan because they also wanted their children to be back at school. Parents were called for a proper school orientation. I designed school traffic plan to elude some cases of spreading virus. I also made a disaster committee composed of teachers and a communication strategy. We also have a triads in front of the gate. Different signages are visible at the school vicinity. Gladly, we are granted the indispensable safety seal for limited face-to-face. Students were glad I could not read the children's mind, but I can sense the joy of having around again at the child-friendly school. Learners had different activity at school before the pandemic. You could hear different sound of conversation and laughter. At the learning environment, children learned their lesson inside the classroom, sitting at their cozy chair. The learning content were carefully taught by the teacher at the 4 dimensions of the room. The learning process is smooth through the direct interaction of teacher and learner. During the pandemic, an upheaval transition of learning process created a heave of called a new normal to the learners, learning environment, spaces, and dimensions, and of course, the learning content. Milk was engaged, better if we could drink it, but it's not. It is the implementation of the most essential learning competency for the distance learning modality. Now, everything gradually back to normal. During the limited face-to-face classes, parents were glad at last they could send again their children to learn and study at school. A lot of things to be considered for the limited face-to-face. Learners' learning capacity were quietly impaired during the distance learning. Those learners whose parents are not capable of grasping the learning module have a hard time on understanding the content. Their learning capacity is impeded because of the existing coronavirus. The livelihood of parents was difficult. There is a need for me to have remediation like reading enrichment. In fact, Din-Gacs Central School participated different kind of activities. Thank you, and that's all for my changing education parameters.
Alubihit National Comprehensive High School was established in 1947. It was the first comprehensive high school established in northern Mindanao. During 1993 to 1994, the school continually grew in size as it consistently garnered curricular achievements, eventually earning the prestige as one of the node schools in the 110 network science and technology-oriented high schools. With the success of the programs implemented by the school, the special program of the arts was opened, starting from the school year of 2013-2014. By 2016 to 2017, the senior high school is open in ANCHS. It is offering both the academic and technical vocational strands. By school year 2018 to 2019, the special program for the arts was opened, specifically the Nihongo. The gloomy situation brought about by the pandemic is evident in schools, where classes have been suspended in fear that public gatherings may facilitate the further spreading of the dreaded virus. With this, the Department of Education, being faithful to its mission to facilitate learning and constantly nurture its learners even in adversity, continues to seek alternative ways in reaching out to the learners and help them grow in terms of knowledge, skill, and attitude. Enrollment in ANCHS dropped to 8% because of the following factors. Parents prefer to enroll their children to schools near their barangay so they can easily access for the self-learning modules. Due to poverty, learners were not able to join online classes because they don't have internet connection, and also because of poverty that learners were not able to receive the modules at school on time. The lack of motivation and support of parents is also one of the reasons. Teenage pregnancy, where the Provincial Population Office stated that there are more than 500 cases of teenage pregnancies in Misamis Oriental this pandemic, 17 coming from Alubihid. With this, we designed programs and projects to help learners in these situations. The reading interventions and home visitations were made by teachers. Online kumustahan and kumustahan sa barangay to monitor students. We also tapped the barangay officials and SK in tutorials. We also conducted information drives, orientation regarding sexual education, aiming to help preventing our youth from engaging in premarital sex. During the progressive expansion of the limited face-to-face, ANCHS was featured in the DepEd official Facebook page. After successfully obtaining a safety seal from the DILG and from the Division of Misamis Oriental, the Alubihid National Comprehensive High School started limited implementing face-to-face classes. Initial implementation had only selectees from grade 7 to grade 12 students. Students are strongly reminded to follow health and safety protocols to keep everyone safe. Learning is better in the limited face-to-face compared on online and modular learning because, as Stanford researchers found out, in-person communications make our brains happier. In a classroom setting, teachers can manage their topics very well because there is no longer a need to compress their topics to fit the modules. Going to class with a real teacher fosters a healthy and lively environment compared to reading in isolation. Students can grow in honing their interpersonal skills with their fellow peers. For this school year, 2022-2023, DepEd intends the schools to be given ample time to slowly transition by implementing the blended learning modality. The Alubihid National Comprehensive High School will choose the 3 days of in-person classes and 2 days of distance learning until further Details for the resuming of 5 days in-person classes arrived. Now, we are ready to welcome the school year 2022-2023.
Lumbo National High School is a large school in the district of Lagunglong with a kilometer distance from the national highway. But most of our students come from barangays and barrios that are considered as far-flung areas. When the pandemic arose, the population of the school increased because learners from private schools preferred to be enrolled in our school. There are also those who decided to continue their studies. They are the so-called balik-aral students. This is because of the flexible learning modality offered by the school. During the face-to-face classes, there are only a few who joined. They come from the senior high school department. There are a lot of factors that affect the education parameters. One is the economic status of the people living in the community. Most of them are farmers and laborers. The pandemic had greatly affected their way of living. Some of the learners opted to work while having to continue their studies to help appease the family situation and sustain their essential needs. Another factor is increasing pressures on student achievement. With the absence of the teacher and the learners in the classroom, there had been a great need in creating various ways to effectively conduct an effective classroom instruction, aside from equipping the teachers with skills they need to address this challenge. Though the Department of Education crafted the most essential learning skills or MELT, it is far better if the learners themselves are in the classroom to learn all of this. That is why teachers conduct home visitations to bring the classroom to another dimension. And to ensure that the learners are ready to be back in the classroom, enrichment classes are being conducted. Since we have the flexible learning modality, one of the challenges encountered is how to solve the problem on the unavailability of resources, such as gadgets to be used in the flexible learning. Another is the internet connectivity, since most of the students live in a far-flung area where the internet connection is very slow or there is no connection at all. As an educator, these challenges will serve as our basis in improving the service that we can provide to our learners, as well as catering their needs amidst the increasing pressures on student achievement and overwhelming effects of poverty. The face-to-face classes will soon take place. This will be of great help to address the different factors that had affected the education parameters.